It's shocking how many people are not using this time to educate themselves, to invest in themselves, to they're stuck in panic mode.
Especially now, your community needs to hear from you to know that you're still around and that your doors might be closed, but your plan is to come back.
People need belief right now. People need hope and optimism now. Times of chaos like this is a chance for leaders to really make their mark and stand up and be heard, provide a valuable voice to people to serve, and also massively build their brand.
Because that's what people need to hear right now.
I'm dreaming, oh, I believe in this dream I've been dreaming, oh, I'm dreaming, oh, I believe in this dream I've been dreaming, oh.
Welcome to rainy Melbourne Saturday morning.
It's all about to happen again. We get, you know, just woke up, kind of tired, Dr. Tess, but by the end of this, she's going to be on fire, freaking out, having a great time.
Yeah. Always. How things?
Things are
fellow introvert. How's isolation?
Yeah, it's super easy. It feels almost like nothing has changed. Apart from I'm not speaking and traveling, right? So usually once or twice a month I'm out somewhere. So that's not happening, but that's fine. And then Saturdays we usually go out. I plan something for my wife of new restaurant and street festival or something. So we're staying indoors and making the best of it. But apart from that, day to day, nothing. This is normal. This is normal life. This is great. Pretty productive. Everybody wants to do Instagram lives. Everybody's at home doing it. Like this is an amazing world. I like it.
I was actually thinking this morning, I was wondering about Toronto Dance South and how they're going, and are they running online classes?
TDS is hurting hard. Yeah, that business is not very social isolation. Social isolation. Who just woke up? Friendly. Yeah. So we'll see. But it's still just making the most of it. So Alex, mostly run that business, is now working on filming videos. Is working recruiting new instructors. It's like we want to come back stronger than before.
Yeah.
So you've got this time now. You're not teaching classes. You're not handling emails from students, and let's build. I
saw a friend of mine posting on Facebook a photo of her daughter doing a ballet class. It's amazing to me what businesses are using at the moment, how they're getting creative and innovating, or being in hibernation and preparing for the comeback.
There's some things that we can do, but most of what we teach is a couples dance.
Yeah.
And most of the couples who come are not couples; they're singles.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? Like 80% of the school are single people, so there's no one to practice with at their home. So Alex has been doing some things, live streams, and do some dance by yourself moves, but it's not really it's not like a fitness class or something. You're just by yourself doing exercise and activities. So it doesn't translate super well to an online class. But it's fine. It's actually great. It's like TDS is maybe one of the worst hit. Like we had to close down our business and we can't really do anything else except prepare for when we come out. And my business is meh. It's kind of normal, just going. I mean, sponsors are coming in, ad rates are down. I mean, I guess financially it's a hit, but in terms of day to day, it's the same old.
Same. Yeah. Structuring yourself the same way. Yeah, I mean, I wonder, with the clientele that you've got, or the following that you've got with those early stage entrepreneurs and startups, how are you, what's the message that you're getting from your followers? How are they coping?
A mix. What's interesting to see is that thought leadership content is down.
Really?
Yeah, actually, can I share screen on this? Really? I'm just working on this right now.
Yeah, okay. What is it showing me?
So this is showing you some of the biggest thought leadership channels on YouTube. And the green means they've grown over the past 30 days. and the red means they're below their average.
Wow.
And by some up to 200%. The worst is 200%. But almost everybody, and these are big channels, these are big name people, are down. Most people are down. So YouTube is way up. Like YouTube is so up that they had to throttle access. So a lot of the videos that are going out, you can't watch in super high HD, high definition.
Oh yeah, yep.
They throttle down the quality going out because everybody's at home on YouTube trying to watch videos, but they're not watching educational videos. They're watching entertainment and they're watching news, which totally shocked me. I got my team, like, it's happening. Get ready, team. We're going to see this big bump. And we've been focusing on Corona content. So now we're seeing the bump, but it's shocking how many people are not using this time to educate themselves, to invest in themselves, to, like, they're stuck in panic mode. He said, yes, what am I seeing from my followers? A lot of panic mode. Like, it's one thing to be informed and to check on what's happening and know what's happening in your city or your country, but checking the death count 20 times a day, in your country.
That's just anxiety producing.
It's more anxiety. It's not productive. It's not allowing you to be in a positive state. And so, I'm trying to encourage people to be the leader. Like, this becomes a choice.
Yeah. I think it's a transition phase. I think that we're still in the transition phase. So if you think of, you think of something like a bushfire. So Australia's recently had a lot of bushfires. During the bushfire, people are really focused on the emergency. And it's after the bushfire that they get, once the fire is out, they can get productive and proactive. And I think at the moment, people are still in bushfire zone. They're still in that emergency mode. And we've had changing times, shifting sands, things moving so fast and so frighteningly fast that people haven't had time to catch their breath. And I think we will hit a stage possibly soon where that level of emergency mode starts to settle down, and some people will get bored with watching Netflix all day, and some people will really move into the, okay, what can I do next that's going to actually serve me longer term? And when I'm telling people, especially business owners, I'm telling people, you've got to stay visible. Now's the time to double down on being visible. Your business needs to be visible online, even if your doors are closed. Your community needs to be reassured that you're still there and you're coming back. It's really important right now, because that actually helps the community feel a bit more anchored, that the things that they know and love in their community are still there, and that they're just on hold, and that they're coming, like TDS, they're coming back. Obviously we don't all know if our businesses can bounce back, but if we at least can let our community know that we're pushing for that and we're aiming for that, it's something positive. It's a positive thing. But yeah, people are still in panic mode. I'm seeing it here too, and within my profession too. A lot of panic, a lot of fear, a lot of worry about going out of business, and getting unwell, fear of getting unwell.
So the thing that's going through my head right now, this is good. This could lead to a good conversation. So,
as opposed to our normal conversations.
Yeah, right. Which suck. Right? So
you're so rude.
It's all love, Tess. It's all love.
I know.
I think in times of chaos like this is a chance for leaders to really make their mark and stand up and be heard and provide a valuable voice to people to serve, and also massively build their brand. I don't know. I mean, I think about Giuliani in New York when the Twin Towers fell, and how then he became the guy who was the leadership guy as of how he handled that crisis. And our premier here in Ontario, a lot of people didn't like him, but they're praising him for how he's handling the situation right now. Right. So it's, whatever reports coming out.
Absolutely. You look at Jacinda Ardern, the Prime Minister of New Zealand. I was going to say Prime Minister of Australia. That would be wishful thinking. Prime Minister of New Zealand. She has doubled down on her communication with her community to the point that she's now doing, I think, daily Facebook live streams, right up close and personal, being very, very human, just being a really nice person, talking really calmly and normally. So no politics speak, no spin, just a normal conversation. And people are just so grateful that she is just being a human face of calm and steadiness during this. And that's what leaders need. Is they need to be the ones that aren't buying into panic, especially if we're talking about, you know, in business and entrepreneurship, not buying into the panic of financial stuff and being that calm, steady voice. Because that's what people need to hear right now. They need to hear, well, it's a little, you know, when you're on a plane and you hit turbulence, the first thing I do is I look at the flight crew. Do they look worried? No, then I'm not going to be worried
either.
That's a good
hack. That's a good hack. Okay, so let me. I think here's where I think it could be really interesting.
Sure.
I think what I have done for myself has gotten to the point where it's so crazy that then it served me incredibly well, but it actually creates a disconnect to being that leader a lot of times because there's very little vulnerability around that stuff. So I see what we're going through now. I look at my business. My business is down. My TDS business is closed. I mean, it's not going to go under, but it's massively struggling.
It's hard.
It's hard for Alex, who's now trying to stay just calm and organized and still on his routine, and all of our students who aren't, you know, in class and already. Why do people go to our school? Because it was about belonging. That's what we built the whole brand around. Here's a place you can come where you belong. And now they've, you know, got nowhere. I see all of this and I still default to, this is the best.
Yeah.
It's how I handle problems, right? This is the best. Let's go. We're going to solve it. And so it leads to very little empathy for problems. It's not disrespect. Like, I understand that you feel this way and it's hurting, but I don't feel right. And so
look, my first thought when I was thinking of TDS this morning, my first thought was, well, here's an opportunity for TDS to go global. You know, run a suite of programs online, run a suite of this, that, and the other online, you know, and I think that's the opportunity that all businesses are faced right now, is that, depending on what their business is, of course, but generally speaking, there is an opportunity to utilize the technologies that we have, bring people together from all corners of the world, because that's what we're seeing. That's what people are doing. They're sitting on a Friday night on Zoom, having a drink of wine together from wherever they happen to be. I had Friday night drinks last night with my team in Tasmania, and I'm here in Melbourne. You know, and I think I'm agreeing with you. There are opportunities to innovate and to find new ways of connecting with community and finding new ways to do what we do. And where I'm excited is to see what of that innovation continues beyond all of this, like what we hold on to that we didn't used to do. I'm excited by that. I'm excited by what will become, hopefully for the better.
Okay, so here's my question, because I agree. Yeah. My question / problem / opportunity is that idea of being able to be the leader in a tough time.
Yeah.
I struggle with being the leader of something like this because I'm just so weird duck on this stuff. There's some things that I can deeply connect to. If we're talking about introversion and anxiety and like fear of disappointing people, I can lean all the way in and be there. But a difficult challenge, you know, I mean, my parents are in their 70s, and you know, I want them to be safe. My sister's pregnant and like due any day, and you know, do you go to the hospital or not? But all of this stuff is just like, bring it, let's go. Hard times, it's not, it rolls off. It actually becomes part of my personality. I love it, but that's not an empathetic, caring leader. And so I struggle in a time like this to actually, I thrive for my business, but I struggle on the leadership side to be a voice, which I think I could do better. And I'm just trying to wrap my head around this. So Mark Drager, for example,
but I think,
friend.
Go. I was talking to Mark yesterday, but go.
He wanted me to make an ad talking about the book, right? And say like, hey, it's tough times right now. This book is made for tough times, and like going on this message. And I know you're feeling anxious and sad and uncertain. And this whole, he feels it. He's writing to me. He's like, hey, I know you've been, are you okay? I'm like, dude, I'm fine. We're crushing it. What are you worried about? He's such a worrier that he can lean in. So the script he gave me is like, I can't say this. I can't even say anything close to this because it doesn't connect with me. I can't lead with worry and anxiety and uncertainty in these times because I'm not super feeling it. Even though the results of what I'm going through is probably pretty similar for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What do you think?
And look, well, I think maybe that's the vulnerability. Like maybe that is the point. And for because every business person I have spoken to recently is speaking from a place of, let's be plain, nobody is excited by the fact that people are ill and people are dying. Like nobody is feeling anything other than horror at all of that. But all of the business people that I'm speaking to recently are embracing the idea of change, and they're struggling with that. So they're a bit like you, but you've got it ramped up to 11. You know, they're struggling with this idea of how can I be excited by the opportunities that I could maximize right now? And we're not talking profiteering. We're not talking selling toilet paper for $10 a roll. We're talking about opportunities to innovate and opportunities for new directions for growth and opportunities for new ways of doing things. And so a lot of people are actually feeling guilty around, how can I possibly feel excited by that side of things when all this other stuff is happening? And maybe that's your niche of talking to, look, I feel the same. You don't feel the guilt so much, but you feel that everyone else feels this. How come I'm feeling that? Well, I am feeling that, not even necessarily the how come. Everyone else is focused on the illness and the death rate and all of this stuff. I'm focused on the growth and the opportunity. And we're all unusual. Entrepreneurs are unusual. We take risk more than anybody else ever does in a business sense. You know, we're not challenge averse. And so faced with something like this, it stirs all that in us. It stirs all that. This is an interesting time. It's an interesting time to be alive. It's an interesting time to innovate. Maybe talk about that.
So the message is then, don't go be the leader. Just keep doing you.
But you are.
Like, okay.
Well, yeah. Well, it's not so much don't be the leader. I think it's acknowledging that that's the vulnerability, is that you're feeling like you don't have a voice in this because you're not feeling all doom and gloom and sad and worried. You're feeling like you can't be a leader when in actual fact you can be a leader, and you can give a voice to the fact that you don't have to be focused on coronavirus all the time. It doesn't make you a bad person.
I don't feel like a bad person though.
I'm not saying you, I'm saying that's the message.
Yeah, but I have to feel the message, right? This is my problem. Mm-hmm. If I feel the message, I will be all in and deliver it with fire and gusto. But if it's just a message for them and I'm not feeling it myself, then I don't want to do it. It's not like, forget it. It's somebody else's message. I mean, what we're doing on the YouTube side is we've ramped up our production of videos that are almost only focused on Corona right now, but solutions and hope and how people are dealing with it, and only the positive. There's enough negative online. And I and my team are being the voice in that sense of, here's some positive things that you can do and hope that we're sharing from different people. So that in that sense we've stepped up, but in terms of being at the front, I don't know, I guess I felt like it's just not my fight, but I question, like, should it be?
I think if we go back to your ideal follower, and we've talked about this before, you know, you really resonate with the young startup, like the 19-year-old version of you. Mm-hmm. Like what would be the circumstances of the 19-year-old version of you in this current climate? Like, how would you, as your actual 19-year-old self, be dealing with this situation right now? What impact would it have on that, Evan? I was thinking about this this morning, because the 19-year-old me was living by myself. I was an actor and a waitress. So I would have been out of work, no money,
Mm-hmm.
and struggling to pay my rent, and I isolated by myself. You know, so I've really started thinking about this. How would this have impacted me? How would this have impacted my dreams to pursue, you know, the goals I had at the time? And maybe tapping into that for you is where you might feel it. Is that younger version of you that's been through difficult times, and plant that person into this situation, because that's who you like to talk to. They're those young entrepreneurs, those young startups.
Yeah, I think the part of me that I connect to the most is the part that I'm still struggling with, just on a bigger scale. 19-year-old Evan was pretty isolated anyway. I had some friends, but it wasn't like I was hanging out every day with my friends. I woke up, I went to my business partner's apartment, and I worked at his dining room table, and the whole day, and I ate lunch with my bean salad that I made myself, like ate through lunch, and then it got dark and I went home. Like that was every day. Weekends.
And you wouldn't be able to do that. You wouldn't be able to go there in this situation. You wouldn't have been able to go there.
I guess, but it was also, we have like, if I'm now, maybe I don't even go. I mean, we didn't have Skype and Zoom, and this is 20 years ago, right? You had to physically go. So I don't know how hard it, like that part is hard to connect with. The like, I can't, if you took Nina away from me right now, that would be a struggle.
Yeah.
But as long as I've got Nina, and you know, we got our dogs, like, nah, I could talk to Tess through Zoom, you know, like, so 19-year-old Evan with modern day, you know, technology.
How would you have felt about your capacity to chase down your dreams though?
I was never the like, now it's over because of blaming some circumstance, right? Because of the coronavirus, or because of the government, or because of XYZ, right? Even now, like Mark sent me this link to Facebook. Facebook has a program where you can do loans or grants. They're giving out grants to small businesses that market themselves on Facebook. He's like, TDS should apply for this. Like, I don't want to apply for this. I want to build a model where we can spend $1 million on Facebook ads and get a return, right? Like, give the grants to somebody else. It's never been a this person's fault or this situation's fault. It wasn't the extreme ownership that it is now. And it wasn't this is the best and I'm going to go and crush this thing. It is my chance to show myself. It wasn't that, but it also wasn't living in, you know, blaming other people. I was worried that I was too young. I was worried that I wasn't good enough. I was worried that it wasn't going to work. I was worried that I sucked because I was putting in all this time and it wasn't working out. But it was still mostly just working from a laptop at a dining room table.
Yeah.
Day in, day out.
Still do from anywhere, of course. Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, I mean, I think the fact that you've still got that sort of optimism overdrive, you know, that you've always had, is a protective factor for you, I guess. You know, TDS will do what it's, you know, will come through this in one way or another, because you'll make it so, and so will Alex. And I think the fact that a lot of people don't have that natural optimism. I'm a bit like you. I'm prone to optimism rather than pessimism. That's my default mode. But a lot of people aren't like that. And I think that the people that aren't sort of need to find some way of tapping into that, tapping into hope, I guess. And so what you're doing with the YouTube channel is certainly, you know, hoping to provide some of that. But I think there's a lot to be said for normalizing your experience of this. And being okay with talking about that, being okay with being okay.
And I am, like, I've gone live every day. I'm okay with being okay. I'm not sitting here thinking, it's more from an opportunistic perspective. Like, is there a way? People need belief right now. People need hope and optimism right now.
Yeah.
But I feel like people are so low on the scale of optimism that, like, they don't want to hear me, because I'm going to give them a push, but people aren't ready for a push. People need a hug more than a push right now, I think. And once they've gotten to a base level, they can start to push again. I'm more in the push camp than the hug camp. I'm not beating myself up over it. I'm just looking, hey, is there, as you were talking, as we started the show, like, is there an opportunity? Like, should I be doing more? Because there's
I think you're actually making some assumptions that people don't want to hear. I think you're assuming that people don't want to hear, and I think that's, you know, some people won't want to hear that, but some people definitely need to hear that. Some people need a push. Some people know that they're right on the edge of doing something amazing, but they're just not sure whether they should do that or not. Some people need that push, and I think you can't make an assumption that everybody doesn't want to hear that, or that nobody wants to hear that.
Yeah, for sure. It's not nobody. It's more like when I prefaced it with, you know, Giuliani was the leader coming out of the World Trade Center, that it's such a moment that happened that's so rare, and like this is a worldwide event that's pretty rare, that there will be a chance for leaders, a leader or multiple leaders, to, just like the New Zealand woman, she's going to come out of this now having probably feel a lot more purposeful in her own heart, but also having a lot more support, a lot more ability to make an impact that she wants, and building her own movement up from this, right? And so that's what's going through my head is, can I use this as a chance to help people? And it's always yes, but it's not a big yes. It's not a giant yes. It's not like it's not the New Zealand Prime Minister yes, right? It doesn't
need to be a big yes. It doesn't need to be that big.
I'm not saying it has to. I'm just raising the question, like, could it be? And right from the answer is like, no. I was like, okay, that's fine. I'm always happy to push. I will push. I will listen, but I'm not the hug. Like, I look at Mark's copy and what he wants me to write, to say is like, this is ridiculous. And he's like, but that's what people are feeling right now. It's like, I get it, but I can't. I'm not going to say something that doesn't feel right.
Yeah. So I look at your Instagram stories, and I'm looking for your take on things. I'm looking for how your day is going in light of this, and I'm looking for, you know, what's different about your world. And it's visually, and it's the same world that pre-corona. It's the same world, but I just think there is an opportunity to maybe even just
say that,
not be so obvious. Yeah. Like it, and I don't know, like, I don't know what spin you'd put on it, or what take you'd have, but I think this like acknowledging that the world is different for everybody else, and then for some people it's not. For people who are introverts and who work from home already, like I work from home already, really the only thing that's different for me is that my husband's here all the time. And you know, so for some of us it's almost business as usual, except for going outside. You know,
sure.
we just have to be.
I guess it feels kind of like who does that actually serve? It feels callous.
I don't want it to feel or sound callous, because it's not callous. It's connecting with people who are sort of a little bit, I guess, this little bit discombobulated, because hang on, there's all this chaos going on around us in the world, and yet our day-to-day functioning actually hasn't changed that much. So all this time that we are supposedly now going to have on our hands, we haven't got that time on our hands, because we were already working efficiently within this sort of work from home environment. And I think there's room for some connection there. There's room for some communication around that. And okay, this is our normal. It's not even our new normal. This is already our normal in terms of our day-to-day functioning overall. Don't let that slip. Don't let that stop you from chasing what it is that you're chasing, whatever it is that you're wanting to pursue. And I don't mean you personally. I mean, the people that you're talking to. Yeah.
I guess I struggle with the connection.
I think the balance.
I think the advice should be like, start consuming education. If you look at that chart that I showed you and it's all red and very few channels are growing, you're at home. What are you doing? You're watching the news and you're watching entertainment. This is your chance to start learning and educating, getting better, and working on the skill that you, and I can say that, that's fine. And I have been saying that. And that's why I even made this graph before. I didn't make this for you. I was making it for content that I'm working on. Right. I mean, that's my message right now. Like, you need to be working on yourself and consuming these channels and learning instead of just escaping and leading to more anxiety. I'm totally comfortable saying that. It's the connection point though, oh, look at me. My life is normal, so yours can be too. Let's go. Because not much has changed. And even though the negative stuff that's happened, negativity doesn't stick on me very well. And so it can't be negativity and complaining and that kind of anxiety, like worrying, is not a good connection point, because I'm so weird on that stuff.
Yeah. I think the connection point for you is connecting with other people like you. Okay. And they might be,
For this is pretty strange.
Yeah, we're strange. Entrepreneurs are strange. Most people, like you say, most people photocopy their life. Entrepreneurs are not the norm, but there's a lot of us. But, so I think that connecting with people like yourself who are still doing all the things that they were doing before, and there's this chaos going on outside, and we're already inside our normal. I think the callous thing, where it can be callous, is when we're bashing people over the head with a stick. Like, we don't need to do that. We can encourage people to pursue their goals. We can encourage people to innovate. I'm talking all the time about innovation, and I'm applauding the small businesses that I'm seeing innovate. Like, it excites me no end to see what some of the small businesses are doing. But and I think that's the connection. Like, no one's judging them for putting their content out there still and keeping their visual presence going online. So I think that there's still this tendency to be fearful of being judged if we look like we're doing business as usual. But we are. And I think it's okay to acknowledge that. It's okay to acknowledge that for some of us, this is still business as usual. We just can't go outside, and we're worried about, or we're concerned for people who are affected by the virus. But I think finding that connection with those people who, like, you would have adapted. 19-year-old Evan would have adapted.
Yeah.
And so you've got a tribe of young entrepreneurs who follow you, who are adapting. They're the ones you want to connect with right now. You want to celebrate them.
Okay. Have to let that one simmer. Not quite sure where it goes, but
it's like the opposite of the crap challenge. It's like a celebration challenge. This is like, who's innovating? Tell me how you're innovating in your entrepreneurship journey in this current climate.
Mm-hmm.
How are you doing things the same and just ramping it up, or doing things differently and uniquely? How are you doing things in ways that you never thought you would do?
So Dr. Tess gives us the crap challenge, and then the total opposite spectrum.
The celebration challenge.
I like it. Okay.
Yeah.
So then what would you think would be a crisis moment or opportunity that would position me well for stepping up and say, this needs to be my time to step and be at the front?
I think step into the vulnerability of finding that connection. You are finding it hard to find the connection, the point where you're connecting with people at the moment, because it's like water off a duck's back to you at the moment. It's all business as usual, and it's all, this is the best and all that sort of stuff. But I think really trying to empathize, find the empathy with those younger entrepreneurs or those startups who are doing, frontline battle with their own fears of not being able to achieve their goals. but they're trying damn hard anyway, and they're innovating, and they're doing things differently, and they're doubling down, and they're, you know, they're working hard.
So if we stepped outside of COVID,
yeah,
I connect super well on the introvert and the disappointing people, right? I mean, I've been leading with that a lot. I talk about it in a lot of my interviews now. It was never to the doctor test crap challenge that we had. It wasn't the fear of sharing it. It was more the searching to find it. Like, what is the whole point of the crap challenge was to share things that suck in my life that make me feel bad or whatever. But it wasn't the vulnerability of sharing it. It was more like, I don't know, it's raining, this sucks. But like, this is what I can actually connect with and share. So being introverted, being afraid of disappointing people, especially disappointing people, that is a universal. There aren't that many people who can't connect to that message. And on the introverted side, there's a ton of people who are, that's half the population, you know, at least. So I guess how I'm thinking about this is, how do I, or what opportunities am I looking for? I haven't thought about it till this moment right now. So just like this is a great opportunity for the Prime Minister of New Zealand, what's an opportunity outside of COVID that I should be constantly looking for, where people who are like me are struggling, are suffering, not just an ongoing day-to-day thing, but on a potentially bigger scale?
I think connecting with the people who are overcoming their innate tendencies to withdraw. So, you know, most introverts, we're in pullback mode, you know, most of the time. Most introverts are, we're not going to be pushing it. It's not our natural inclination to push ourselves forwards, but somehow those of us who are entrepreneurs and introverts manage to overcome the pullback mode. We somehow manage to find a way to push forward. And I think connecting with that, like, that's a huge thing to be able to overcome as an introvert. I was talking to Mark yesterday about, you know, how it's a big value of mine to feel connected, to, you know, to have relationships with people. It's why I'm such a big supporter of local small business, because I want to feel like I know them and they know me, right? So I love that connection, that actual connection. And same with my online connections. It's really important to me to feel like I have a relationship with people. And you know, as a kid, I was always the new kid. You know, I was moved around a lot as a child, and I was always the new kid in school. So nobody ever knew me. So it's sort of like I had the introverted tendencies, plus nobody knew who I was anyway, you know. So I was always in, well, I might as well shrink back even more kind of mode. I wasn't shy, but I was always on the wrong foot. And, you know, so I think at what point did I feel it was okay to become an actor? You know, at what point did I feel that it was okay to be outspoken? You know, I can't pinpoint that, but the fact that I did is something that I celebrate in myself. And I think that that's something you can tap into as a fellow introvert and entrepreneur. It is a massive thing that we do to overcome that pullback mode. And now's the time to double down on overcoming that. Now's the time to double down on tapping into whatever it was that we draw on, or whatever it is that we draw on, to overcome that and push forward. Now's not the time to go all shy again.
I guess I'm looking for buckets or categories of events or things in a news cycle that I should just be aware of, that, because I typically don't pay attention to the news cycle very much at all. And Steve and I used to fight about this all the time. He's like, what's your opinion on Trump's latest thing? Like, well, what did he say? Like, well, I don't even know. I'm not even paying attention to what he's saying. And so I don't make news cycle stuff typically. So I would put like coronavirus and terrorism and recession and those kinds of events in one bucket, where it leads to fear, it preys on fears, preys on anxiety, it preys on lack of control, and it causes people to freak out and just watch CNN all day and not. So I can't. So that's one group. Awesome. That may not be where I'm the leader, but I'm trying to think, what are some categories or groups where I could be?
Well, I think, you know, stepping away from the North American continent,
yeah,
because I think you could, in the North American continent, put 9/11 in the same category as coronavirus because it was all encompassing. But just speaking from another part of the world, where obviously 9/11 was obviously massively devastating, terrorism, you know, affected us here too. But those things were divisive. Coronavirus is uniting. So coronavirus affects us all equally. We are all, no matter where we live, we could be in Zimbabwe or Tibet or London or Tasmania, and we're all dealing with the same thing day in, day out at the moment. We've all got the same changed landscape. We've all got the same problems, the same fears, but also the same opportunities and the same hopes for the future. And I can't think of another example in history where we have had the capacity, technologically speaking, to unify as a species so collectively, like we actually all are experiencing the same bunch of things. So there's not been anything like this. This pandemic is in its own box, right? And within that box, there are other boxes like the capacity to connect, you know, the technology that we've got that we can use to connect with others, to communicate with our communities, to innovate how we run our businesses. That they're the boxes that I see. I see that we've got this big corona box, and then within that box, we've got the health box, we've got the fear box, but we've also got the innovate box and the connection box. And I think that they are really powerful right now. And that's where I think as leaders, that's where our attention needs to be focused on, the connection and the innovation within the corona box, because it's completely different. We've not seen anything like this before.
Sure. I guess we haven't seen on this scale. What I'm thinking of is that the panic that people are feeling, that anxiety that people are feeling, that uncertainty of where things are going to go and what's next may not have been felt on this scale, but has been felt in a recession. People were, when's the 2020 recession going to hit? Maybe it's now. Who knows? But like people who sit there and watch the news and look for the recession and wait for it to happen and wonder, should I sell my stocks? And I guess now the time, and just people sit there worry. It's still about worrying about the future and having a sense that you don't have any control over where you're at. And sure, Corona's in its own level of definitely scale, you know, around the world, but those boxes of insecurity about the future and uncertainty over what's happening right now, that doesn't hit me. It's like, those are not the boxes that I check. And so what I can say is, if I did, if I was great at, if I was the worrier, like this is a good Mark Drager time. If I was a worrier of these things, then I'm looking for when's the next recession and when is the next, like, where are people worrying like this on a big scale? And that's your chance to go in. There's a guy who flew to my studio here in Toronto, who likes to diffuse situations with hugs. So he goes to like where there's big protests and where there's about to be like a altercation between the police and the protests, right? And he'll go and he'll hug. He has free hug T-shirts, and he goes in and he hugs the police, and he hugs the protesters, and he tries to create, you know, calm and happiness. And at first he went to issues that he cared about deeply himself. And then he just went to he doesn't care anymore, because it's just what he cares about is solving conflict through hugs. And so whenever there's some big, so he was following like the Trump rallies around, because Trump had his thing and then people were protesting and that kind of thing. So now he knows who he likes to help, what events are popping up that he can jump in and be a leader in. I don't know what my bucket is. it's definitely bubbly under the surface. There's lots of people who have anxiety about disappointing people, or about, you know, how to handle being an introvert. But I guess maybe it's a stupid question. I'm just trying to think, what are some events, what are some news cycle things that I should be paying attention to say, here is when people like me need to hear the voice so that I can step up and be the hugs guy or be the New Zealand Prime Minister, because now this is really affecting my people and I need to step up.
Yeah, I think the things that are happening in the news that you probably could speak to are things like, you know, like politicians now are shouting out, you know, cleaners and, you know, and cleaners and people like that, they usually are working for themselves, subcontractors, right? So they're entrepreneurs in their own way. You know, all of the people that are doing all of the things that nobody ever pays attention to and are still, you know, delivery drivers, again, usually subcontractors work for themselves. You know, so there are so many examples at the moment of entrepreneurs and small business owners who are frontline workers now at keeping our economies going and keeping our communities going. And I think, you know, what are they overcoming in themselves to keep their businesses afloat during this scary time? And what are they overcoming in themselves, you know, worrying about their own health to keep the community going? You know, we've got politicians here shouting them out as heroes because they are keeping our economy going, and keeping our hospitals going and all of that stuff. You know, we've got cleaners all over the city here wiping down pedestrian crossing buttons and things like that. You know, they're keeping our community safe. I think connecting with those entrepreneurs, those small business owners, those micro business owners, and celebrating them, connecting with them, being a voice for the business owner that still has all their costs hanging over their head and still has all their dreams just here in front of them, in a changing landscape. I think connecting with them, whether you're celebrating them or whether you're helping them overcome fear, or whether you're cheering them on, or whether you're wielding a big stick to get them moving, to do more, to be visible online, whatever it is you choose to do, I think connecting with them. And that's the stuff in the news that will probably speak to you and you can speak to it. Ah, look, you don't look convinced. Man, you're a hard sell.
I mean, maybe the answer is just to look for within. I mean, instead of looking for an event, look within each event. Because I don't know what
look for the individuals. Think of the individuals, you know. Yeah.
Even as you're saying that, this is where the callous part comes out. Like, even as you're saying that, I love it. It's amazing. I think entrepreneurs, period, are heroes. And I think even in the best of times, how many people's businesses don't make it and don't continue on and struggle, and people doubt themselves and they're late on their payments on, like, that happens regardless of if there's Corona or not. So life punches you in the face, right? And then it happens again. And it's how you choose to react from it. Like, for people who are struggling now with the Corona in their business, I get it. I feel it. But there's going to be more. It may not be on this level, but there's going to be a lot more issues that come and hit you harder. Like, in all honesty, the death of my dog hit me harder than coronavirus. I took a week off of making content when my dog, my family dog died, than this. And maybe that's super selfish, but like how it actually hit me on an emotional level, my family dog passing away actually made me not be able to show up to work and do what I need to do. But this is going. And so like that mindset of I'm going to show up. I need to show up.
Yeah.
So whether it's Corona or not, that's why like I can celebrate, but I want to celebrate anyway. I want to celebrate them even if they're not doing something in Corona. I think entrepreneurs are heroes, period.
Yeah. But I think what I'm saying is I think especially now they need to hear that message.
Yeah, especially now they need to hear the message. Oh, maybe.
It's a little bit like, you know, especially now, if you've got a bookshop or a butcher shop or a florist shop or whatever your business might be, especially now, your community needs to hear from you to know that you're still around and that your doors might be closed, but your plan is to come back.
Sure. Yes.
So it's especially now about connecting with your community. That's what's really important, because it creates certainty and it creates consistency and it creates rapport and relationship. And what will happen when all of this is over is, my belief is that the businesses that have really focused on community and connection, even if they're still doing their normal marketing stuff, but they're connecting with their community in a way that speaks to their community, they will do. I feel that they will do better, because it will be about this atmosphere of connection that everyone is craving right now, because we're all isolated. So I think that's the key word. It's the connection challenge.
All right. I'll stew on it.
Yeah.
We'll stew on it.
Stew on it, just do it.
Well, do
Find
what?
a way to do it. Well, maybe.
I'm not afraid of doing. I'll go live right now and what do you want me to do?
I think what would be nice is for you to be, to be observant of some of the new stuff, looking for individual stories, and not only new stuff, but also social media, community businesses and things like that, and shouting out people that are doing a great job at staying connected with their communities and keeping their businesses visible and in these difficult times. Maybe that's all you need to do to be a leader in this field, is to pump up other people's tires for a while. I don't know.
I love that idea in general. I think of Martin Luther King, that's mostly what he did. He stood on the front lines sometimes, but most of what he did was just share other people's stories. He shone a giant, he had a giant light, right? And he shone that light on people and said, look at what these kids are doing in Alabama. Look at right? He wasn't doing as much. He was more shining a big light. I love shining a light. Corona or not, right?
Yeah, I know, but I almost feel like you're being a bit defiant. But just because it's Corona, I should almost like, I don't have to do this now because I do this anyway. And I feel like really you need to double down on the things that you do well anyway, the things that really connect you to people. Yeah, I would encourage you to double down on that right now and really connect with people and really shine that light on people doing awesome things, whether they're doing awesome things or just doing well in keeping their business visible right now. I think it's a great thing that you can be doing. You've got that shining light. You can spotlight people, make a massive impact to not just whether or not people's businesses do any better than they were, but also how people are feeling. Like, that would make people feel awesome. That would be a huge gift.
Okay. So what do I connect with people best on? Purpose, belief. So finding purpose-driven entrepreneurs and showcasing what they're doing.
Yeah. And hey, you've got a book. You could send them a copy of your book, even. There's ways
we've been doing that. I haven't been shouting it out. It's like, hey, this desperate person just got a copy of my book. Enjoy. But we've been sending out a whole bunch of signed copies to people.
Which is awesome. But I think you have this spotlight. You've got a spotlight that other people are envious of, and I think that it would be a great thing. That might be the thing. That might be where your leadership shines. Share the love. Share the Evan love.
All right. We'll see what I can do.
Give everyone a big fat internet hug.
Big fat internet hug? I don't know about that. Big fat internet push. Let's go. Let's go. Start watching thought leadership content, guys. Come on. Yeah. All right.
People don't want to educate themselves right now. They just don't want to. Their brains are a bit full. So my psychological take on what you're seeing with your data is that people's brains are full. just not yet able. I was talking about this yesterday, actually, about sleep. And a lot of people are talking about how they're finding it hard to wake up at their normal time. And they're beating themselves up about that. And I said to people, just remember the phase of transition that you're in, the psychological phase of transition that you're in. Your brain is processing a ton of information at the moment, every day, and you're adjusting to new circumstances. You actually need more sleep. Most people need more sleep right now. If that's what your body's telling you, that's what your body needs right now. That's not to say you sleep until 11 o'clock every day, but if you need more sleep, you need to give yourself more sleep. You know, I'm not feeling worried or any of those things, but I'm having the weirdest dreams every night at the moment. You know, and that's how my brain is processing my worries for me. My background noise is coming out in my dreams. For other people, it's coming out in not being able to absorb more information just now. So I think we'll reach a time where that will change.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. I wouldn't have anticipated it, but it makes sense.
Yeah,
it's where most people are.
From trauma modeling, this is what we would expect.
Yeah.
You know,
it makes
people's
sense.
brains are full. So be kind, but also push. It's okay to push.
It's yes, for the right people. It's not a mass message.
No.
But for the right people.
Well, it can be. No, well, it can be. It can be a mass message. And, you know, it's like that whole thing about putting content out there. Sometimes you hear something and it doesn't resonate with you, and then you might hear it again in a month's time, and it's the perfect time for you to hear that message.
Sure. I think people need to hear sleep in more, give yourself time to process. This is normal behavior. That's a great, kind mass message that you should deliver, Tess.
And I have been.
And then you send them to me when they're ready. You're like, let's go. We want to go fast. Come on, team.
Okay. And that's, I think you can do both. I think you can say, yes, you need a bit more sleep. Yes, your brain is full, but there's also this nagging voice that you know that you could do more right now. And even if all you do is spend half an hour today doing something, that's a massive step forward in this time of transition. So let's push that go button, even if it's only for half an hour.
All right. Okay. That last 2-3 sentences is sinking in. Little bow on it. I like it. Okay. All right. Yeah. I'll play with it. I have to record a video for Mark and give him something. So I'll try to watch the replay and mush that together somehow into a message that feels right. But yeah, cool.
Send it to me.
All right. The finished ad?
Yeah, why not?
All right. Sure.
I might shine a spotlight on it for you.
Oh, snap. Okay. You might see it popping up on your Facebook every now and then too.
I probably will.
All right.
Awesome.
Well, appreciate the love as always, Tess. And there's a much bigger smile on your face than when you joined.
As always.
There's more energy. Although we didn't get to see the sunrise this time. It's already, I guess we've shifted time already now. It's not happening anymore. No more. Tomorrow,
daylight savings ends here tomorrow.
So you go backwards? It's going to be darker in the morning?
Yeah. But I'll still be in the future, so I still win.
All right. Okay. So next call, we'll see dark Australia and the beautiful sunrise as we chat.
No, because behind me is sunset, so we won't even see the sunrise. So I'm not in Hobart anymore, Toto.
Oh, where are you?
I'm in Melbourne.
Right. So you saw Australia. Wait, how are you? My sun is setting. How is sun setting for you right now?
No, what I'm saying is that's west. That's not east. So when in my Hobart house, I was
okay, but we'll still see the east, dark. So like it'll still be dark, becoming light. Okay, great. Okay, all right, cool. Appreciate you, Dr. Tess.
Thank you very much. Give my love
Thank you for the love. I will. Have a great weekend.
Always. You too. Bye. Bye.
If you want to see the last time Dr. Tess and I connected and she pushed me to be better, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.